Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining us. We are excited to be here with this esteemed panel today. I'd love to give everyone a chance to introduce yourselves. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, I'm Mike Tilkin. I'm with the American College of Radiology.
Thanks so much. My name is Dan Jones. I'm from Gleamer AI.
Jenna Deacon, clinical lead for Blackford.
Hi, I'm Graham Perry. I'm the product manager for Calantic platform for AI.
All right, thank you, everyone. I was just going to ask you, Mike, if you want to run through a few slides to talk about Assess AI and the program you have underway.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to stand up over here so I can see the slides. It's okay. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, so just for background, the ACR just finished its centennial. So over 100 years, we have about 40,000 members and are digitally connected through our various programs to over 40,000 facilities. So our SSAI program and some of these other programs are really with an eye toward the larger array of quality programs that the college does. Next. In 2017, we launched the Data Science Institute, and this was really with recognition that AI and data science we felt was going to be core to clinically safe and effective radiologic care. So that's been our message, and the college has spent a lot of cycles kind of working on this problem. Just to give you a sense, we have a leadership team that's a group of clinicians and full-time staff. Keep going. And really together have worked on a whole array of products across what we consider the AI lifecycle. So it's everything from creation of AI to validation to working with the FDA and CMS on regulatory and payment issues respectively. But then now increasingly across this acquisition implementation. Those are the projects I want to talk about today. So on the acquisition front, AI Central. On the monitoring front, Assess AI. You can keep going. And then on the assurance and governance front, Arch AI. So I'm just going to talk about those just to kind of tee up the conversation. Go ahead. So AI Central, and so this was really an attempt to help us navigate the market. Go ahead. So this is a compendium of information. You can just keep clicking. So this is everything from all of the AI, FDA-cleared AI vendors that are out there, manufacturer information. Hang on a second. The platform information, you can kind of go through and look by subspecialty and the like. We've got we allow vendors to actually present their information to customers. And then recently, hang here for a sec, we launched Transparent AI. And part of the goal here was a recognition that folks needed a better understanding of how these algorithms were trained. And so we've asked vendors to provide an array of data and information, things like instructions for use, so that the buyers of the algorithms had a better sense of exactly how these models were created. So that's AI Central. Assess AI is now that now you're past the buying process, you're now implementing. And what we know is that it's critical that we monitor these algorithms in practice. They are highly susceptible to changes in your environment, and that's a critical part of putting these into operation. So the notion is that we get the results of the AI algorithm, we'll get circuit ground truth, things like what the radiologist reported, we can provide concordance reports, we can show over time how you're performing, and then where things are discordant, allow you to go in and understand why. We can also provide national benchmarks, so you can see how your algorithm does over time, but also how it compares to other facilities that are implementing like algorithms. And then we can also look obviously across the national scope to see in general, how we're kind of doing across different types of algorithms and different types of demographics. So again, kind of that comprehensive picture. So that's Assess AI. And then the last one I want to mention is Arch AI. So this is the first national AI quality assurance program for radiology. And this was really designed to help facilities work through best practices and get recognition from, frankly, providing safe and effective implementation of AI. So there's a variety of criteria. I'm not going to go through all the details, but there's basically an array of guidance around governance, things like worrying about how AI models are selected, how they're managed and monitored, how you think about things like security and the like. There is the selection process. So, do you have a controlled process for putting these into production? Are they documented? Are you educating the staff on how these are going to be used? Is there a formal acceptance testing process? We know these need to be tested on local data. So do you have that documented? Is it formalized? And have you educated folks about that? And then, of course, monitoring, as we talked about, is a critical part of this. So these are all kind of facets of being an Arch AI center. And the last is if you have locally developed models, there's additional criteria that typically you'd ask the vendor to do that now you're going to have to take on some of those tasks. So that was just a quick walkthrough of some of the key kind of AI assurance and quality programs that we have in place. This is the group of current Arch AI sites. People are joining quickly, so we're pretty excited about the program. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, there'll be time for questions at the end, so I wanted to ask the panel a few questions now. Daniel, I wanted to ask you about, you have Gleamer has a transparent AI badge. Can you talk about why this was important for you to obtain?
Yeah, certainly. So the transparent AI badge was incredibly important for us to obtain, actually, because what it does is, for us as the AI developers, it ensures that we demonstrate a level of credibility with regards to our research and development processes, to really illustrate that we, as the AI developers, are ensuring that we implement our training processes to the best practice. So the transparent AI badge really goes a little bit deeper than the sort of standard IFU in the information that it requests. So that gives the sites and the commissioners, the evaluators of these technologies, the trust that they need to ensure that they're implementing technologies that have reached a certain level of validation within these research and development processes.
Great, thank you. So Jenna and Graham, do you want to talk a little bit about, from the Blackford and Calantic perspectives, about the importance of transparency and our involvement in those programs?
Yeah, thank you, Mary. So I think it's really important to improve transparency in the industry. I think it will hopefully increase adoption as people increase their confidence in the AI algorithms. And for platforms, it makes it a lot easier for us to assess which applications have high quality training data sets. It's a good way for our vendors to stand out as having high quality training data and set themselves apart from other competitors. I think for our customers, it's extremely important. It's often been seen as quite an opaque industry where there's not a lot of information about how these data sets have been used for training purposes. And that has perhaps been a barrier to adoption. So we're excited to see the potential impact this might have in improving adoption across the industry.
Yeah, not a whole lot to add to those two pieces, but I think it's pretty important that from a customer point of view, on the background of all these new AI algorithms coming out to the market, a lot of them are Me Too algorithms, but having a neutral place to look at the actual data used to train the algorithm, and also from the platform standpoint, we have to take the responsibility when we're consulting in this place to be able to guide a customer from one algorithm over another, and that so part of that information is how the algorithm is trained, what is their actual clinical experience, and how closely do their marketing claims match the actual evidence that are in the publication. So ACR is a neutral party to be able to help us normalize and standardize in a very neutral way.
Great, thank you. So Daniel, one more question for you. So when you've deployed to customers, and how do you help them safely adopt AI, and how does this align with the Arch AI program?
Yeah, so it's a great question, actually. Implementation science is a challenging topic when it comes to AI implementation into the clinical workflow. So there are a few different processes that we as the AI developers need to go through as part of that implementation cycle. Such as validation and so evaluation and validation of AI systems to ensure that they match the performances of the sites based on the local demographic data, etc. Then you have the training and education of the AI systems themselves. So ensuring that all users have received appropriate training for the applications that they're using. This could be done in in-person training sessions, e-learning materials, for example, ensuring that they have access to all of the information that they need in order to use the systems according to their instructions for use. And then you have the ongoing monitoring of the applications. So how these applications are performing in the real-world clinical setting to ensure that they're not, the performance of the algorithms are not drifting, for example. And there are a few different ways in which we do this as an AI company that we always try to align to the guidance where possible. So we have a few different processes for this, such as a feedback, automated feedback process. And then, going beyond that, ensuring that we're constantly receiving this feedback from the users to iteratively improve the AI application's performance and scope over time. And what this does, if we're very transparent on this, is it ensures that the commissioners of these technologies know that we as the AI developers are trying to adhere to the best practices, not just in the sort of pre-market development of the applications with regards to the dataset characteristics, etc., but also in the post-market deployment and monitoring and surveillance of the applications.
That's great, thank you. Mike, can you tell us how can the ACR support adopters of AI? What are the benefits of meeting the ARCH recommended criteria?
Yeah, I mean, what we're learning is of course, everybody's learning as we go. And so part of what we've tried to do is promote an environment where we've got guidance so folks have a place to start, promote an ongoing conversation amongst the ARCH AI sites so that we can learn from one another and continually kind of elevate the guardrails and the criteria that we put forth to make sure we're doing this safely and effectively. So this helps give them a baseline, a place to start, and helps allow them to grow. And so we envision this program continuing to grow as we learn, as we codify more and more standards. And so we look at this as a continuously kind of learning process.
Great, thank you. And last couple questions, or last question for the Blackford and the Calantic team. Why do you think it's important to monitor AI algorithms post-deployment, and what role can platforms play in helping with this for our healthcare providers?
That's a really interesting question, thank you. So we know that our customers spend a lot of time evaluating AI when they are initially implementing it to make sure that their data, their population match the training data sets and the performance is as expected and as published by the vendors. But we know that data drifts over time, populations can change, software upgrades can impact performance. So why would they stop doing that analysis as soon as they've implemented the system? So that's why we need to continue to monitor that there hasn't been a significant change in the performance of the application. And this also ensures that their clinicians remain confident in the determinations that are being made by these AI systems. And in order to ensure that our vendors can maintain their high performance, we need to provide feedback to our vendors about any identification of drift, or there's this new scanner type which might be affecting the performance of the algorithm, and it continues to push the applications to improve over time. And as a platform, we can be involved in the AI Assess program to provide feedback on our vendors' AI determinations to the ACR to assist with that. And overall, I think this will help the industry as a whole, because we know that there are issues with, lack of representation of certain populations, bias within the training data sets for these algorithms. So in order to improve that, improve the quality of the different applications that are available on the market, we need to continue to monitor how these applications are working in the real world and continue to improve their performance.
Yeah, thanks for that question as well. I think the future state of AI in radiology is going to have actual artificial intelligence in the sense that it's learning in vitro, right? So it's learning from experience. Right now, these applications are trained on a big data set, and we were very careful on how we select the sample sizes and the demographics. but that's future, right? Learning in vitro is in future. But in the meantime, a platform's in a unique position to be able to start collecting that data, start collecting, as you say, the results, and compare that against the ground truth, so that we can look at trends that we may not know about. We can look at the patient demographic, amass that data, compare that to a ground truth, and be able to, as you say, communicate that back to the vendors themselves. So in that way, we're in a unique position to be able to collect that kind of data.
Great, thank you. Well, I'll open it up. Are there any questions from the audience for the panel?
Yeah, you were talking about drift and following after implementation. My assessment of sort of the AI world is that, everyone sort of talks about the predictive, but, just getting to the point of just being descriptive of sort of what's happening. Like, are there standards that are sort of established now that would say, well, 5% drift is okay? Or, how do you sort of start setting what it means for something to be clinically significant, which is, I guess, the word I would use?
Who wants to take that?
I can say. Okay. So from a pragmatic point of view, the people who implement these early adopters of AI want to understand and want to make sure that they can communicate to their internal organizations that this AI will work on their local population. So a lot of times what they'll do is they'll do a pilot, or we'll get some sample images and be able to assure them that the expected outputs are correct. I don't think there's a number that we can put on as far as drift is concerned, but the important thing is to be able to monitor it in a consistent way over time and just have that kind of baked into the whole overall project, because it's not just dropping it off and using it. It's going to be an active monitoring and making sure that we don't see any outliers. Got to remember that the AI is not the decision maker. It's just one other component that the radiologist uses to inform their decision. It's not the decision itself. And if that's getting less reliable over time, or you see a spike in some particular demographics that it doesn't work for, that information is vital for the third parties to be able to get quickly.
I think it also depends on the use case that you're targeting with the application and how you've implemented it. So how disruptive the application is to your workflow compared to what it was before. You probably want to have tighter margins for that drift alerting, and how easy it is for your radiologist to assess that the AI is making correct determinations. So if it's something that is quite a straightforward use case where it's very easy to say, oh yeah, that's not correct and I understand why, then that's quite different to something which is doing much more detailed analysis that the radiologists can't perform on their own, I would say.
Yeah, and just a couple of things to add to that as well. So in mammography, for example, a lot of the open source data sets may contain like 70% of data coming from hologic systems, so hologic manufacturers, hologic models. And what that does mean to us as the developers is that the AI may not be able to generalize so well across other scanner types. And if these technologies are implemented within a site, and they may be using a hologic system, for example, and then they change to a Siemens modality, then the AI may not perform as well on that modality type. So we as the developers need to, ultimately, as part of our research and development process, we will always try to ensure that the applications are generalizable. And that will be, in line with the transparent AI badge. So we'll be providing those data set characteristics, etc. But from a monitoring perspective, we need to know when these systems and scanners change to ensure that there isn't a huge jump in recall, for example. So yeah, that continuous monitoring of the applications is critical for us as part of the development and continual development of the AI applications and the new iterative, training and development processes and different new versions of the applications.
I think it just add to one of the advantages of a national registry is you can compare to other facilities. That still is not going to give you a number because the problem is, for all the reasons given, prevalence may be different and the like, but at least it gives you a starting point, and you can start to understand, does this seem in line? Do I look good, benchmarked against myself over time as your drift? Do I look good relative to other facilities solving similar problems? And you can take that data, and of course what you do with it will be highly dependent on the situation, but at least you can start to get to something that looks like meaningful information to kind of gauge, is the drift significant enough we need to worry about it or keep an eye on it or something of that sort.
Great. Any other questions? Well, thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.